We were lying in the same bed when she suddenly started acting strange. She flinched. It was small, barely noticeable. Most men probably wouldn't have caught it, but I did, because my hand had touched her shoulder the same way it had every night for the past 6 years, and she had never flinched before. Not once. The room was dark except for the faint blue glow of the streetlight leaking through the blinds. The ceiling fan hummed quietly above us. Her back was turned to me, stiff beneath the blanket. I kept my hand where it was, still, testing the moment. Her breathing changed. Too fast, too controlled, like someone pretending to sleep. I leaned closer. "Hey," I whispered. She didn't answer. Just that stiff body again, that unnatural stillness. And then her phone vibrated on the nightstand. A single buzz, sharp, violent in the silence. She moved faster than I'd ever seen her move before. Her arm shot out from the blanket. Snatched the phone. Screen flipped downward, face hidden. My eyes stayed on the back of her neck. A pulse jumped there. Hard. I didn't say anything. Didn't ask who it was. Instead, I rolled onto my back and stared at the ceiling. Quiet, waiting. She thought the darkness hid everything. But darkness has a way of revealing things. After a moment, she whispered softly, "Just spam. Spam, at 1:17 in the morning." Her voice was careful. Too careful. I nodded slowly, even though she couldn't see me. "Yeah," I said. Silence returned. But something had shifted in the room. A pressure, like the air before a storm. And somewhere deep in my chest, a quiet voice spoke. Not loud, not dramatic, just calm, certain. Something is wrong. I closed my eyes. And for the first time in 6 years, I started paying attention. The strange thing about betrayal is that it rarely begins with proof. It begins with patterns, tiny ones, almost invisible. A phone turned face down. Late night spam. A woman who suddenly sleeps with her back to you. I noticed everything after that night. The way she started showering immediately when she got home. The new passcode on her phone. The way she smiled at messages, then erased them. And then there was Ryan. Ryan had been around for months. Friendly guy, confident, always smiling. The kind of man who slapped your shoulder when he laughed. "Buddy," he'd say, every single time. "Buddy." He worked at the marketing firm that recently partnered with my company. That's how we met. Drinks after meetings, occasional weekend barbecues. He came over sometimes, sat at my kitchen table, drank my whiskey, talked about sports, and shook my hand every time he left. Firm grip, eye contact. "Good seeing you, buddy." I trusted him. Hell. I liked him. My wife liked him too. Probably a little too much. At first, I thought nothing of it. She laughed at his jokes. He complimented her cooking. Normal. Harmless. Until one night I walked into the living room unexpectedly, and they stopped talking. Not gradually. Instantly. Like someone hit pause on a movie. Ryan smiled too quickly. "Hey man," he said. My wife stood up immediately. I was just grabbing plates. Just, the most dangerous word in the English language. From that moment, the pattern started forming. Her phone lit up more often. Ryan texted me less. But when we did see each other, he was warmer than ever. More handshakes, more smiles, more buddy. And every time he said it, I felt something cold slide beneath my ribs. Because by then, I had already started noticing the way my wife reacted when his name appeared on my phone. Too casual, too practiced, like an actress hitting her mark. That's when suspicion stopped being a feeling and became a question, a quiet one, but dangerous. What exactly was happening behind my back? I didn't ask her. I didn't accuse. Men who react too quickly lose the advantage. Instead, I started watching. The human mind does something strange when it begins to suspect betrayal. It starts connecting dots. Old memories shift. Moments replay themselves with new meaning. Ryan started coming over less often. But when he did, my wife always seemed unusually prepared. Makeup done, hair perfect, dinner elaborate. One evening I noticed something subtle. When Ryan arrived, she hugged him. Quick, friendly, but his hand lingered on her lower back just half a second longer than it should have. Most people wouldn't see it, but I was already watching, already measuring, already building a picture. Still, I needed proof, not suspicion. Proof. So I began quietly. Phone records first. Nothing obvious, but one number appeared frequently late at night. Not saved, just digits. I memorized them. The next night I sat in my car outside the grocery store parking lot and dialed. It from a burner phone. 1 ring, 2, 3. Then a familiar voice answered. Hello? Ryan. I hung up. My heart didn't race, didn't explode. Instead, everything became calm. Cold, precise. The suspicion was no longer a question. But truth is a patient thing, and I wanted the full picture. So I waited, watched, collected. My wife started taking longer evening walks. Ryan suddenly became busy on the same nights. Funny coincidence. I even invited him to watch a game one weekend. He came over like nothing had changed, sat across from me on the couch, beer in hand, laughing, relaxed. My wife sat beside him. Too close. I noticed the small signals. Glances. Quick smiles. Invisible conversations happening across the room. At halftime, Ryan clapped my shoulder. Man, you're lucky, he said, nodding toward my wife. She's amazing. I looked at him. Really looked at him. At the man who had been shaking my hand for months, calling me buddy. And suddenly, I understood something terrifying. He didn't think I knew. Not even a little. Which meant they had become careless. And careless people eventually expose themselves. So I set the final piece in motion. 3 days later, I told my wife I had a business trip. 2 nights. Out of town. She kissed me goodbye that morning. Longer than usual. Guilt often hides behind affection. I drove away. Then parked 2 streets over. And waited. It took 4 hours. 4 quiet hours sitting in my car, watching my own house. The afternoon light faded slowly. Street lamps flickered on. And then Ryan's car appeared. Right on schedule. He parked in my driveway. Like he belonged there. I watched him walk to my front door. My wife opened it before he even knocked. She was smiling. That kind of smile, the one she used to give me years ago. He stepped inside. Door closed. I sat there for a long moment. Still, breathing slow, not angry, not shaking, just aware. Then I walked to the house. Unlocked the door quietly. The sound reached them immediately. Voices stopped. Footsteps. My wife appeared in the hallway. Her face drained of color. Behind her, Ryan stood frozen. The silence was heavy. I stepped inside, closed the door gently. No shouting, no accusations, just calm. Hey, buddy, I said to Ryan. His mouth opened slightly. Nothing came out. My wife whispered, You were supposed to be out of town? I nodded. Plans change. The room felt smaller, like the walls were leaning inward. Ryan finally spoke. Man, this isn't... I raised a hand and placed an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was the printed phone record. Call logs, dates, times, his number highlighted. My wife stared at it, then at me. Her hands started shaking. Ryan didn't move, didn't breathe. I pulled out a chair, sat down slowly, looked at both of them, and asked the only question that mattered. How long? The truth broke the room open. She started crying immediately. Of course she did. Tears are the last refuge of someone who's run out of lies. 6 months, she whispered. Ryan looked like someone had drained the blood from his body. 6 months, half a year. Barbecues, handshakes. Buddy? I nodded slowly. Processing. Ryan tried to step forward. Look, man, I never meant... I laughed. Softly. The sound made both of them freeze. Never meant what? I asked. To sleep with my wife? He couldn't answer. Because there is no answer to that question. Just cowardice. My wife collapsed into a chair, crying harder. Please, we can fix this. Fix. Another dangerous word. I stood up. Calm. Walked to the kitchen counter and slid another envelope across the table. This one thicker. Legal documents. Divorce papers. Already signed. Prepared weeks ago. Because somewhere deep down, I had already known. My wife stared at them like they were a weapon. You planned this? No, I said quietly. I prepared. Ryan took a step back. Like the room had suddenly become dangerous. Which it had. Not physically, psychologically. Because the moment they realized something terrifying, I had never lost control. Not once. While they were sneaking around, I was studying them. Learning. Waiting. I picked up my car keys. Walked to the door. Then paused. Turned back toward Ryan. He looked smaller now. Pathetic. The confident buddy was gone. Just a man caught in his own stupidity. I met his eyes and gave him the same firm handshake he'd given me so many times. Tight. Uncomfortable. Take care of her, I said. Then I left. People think betrayal destroys you instantly. It doesn't. It changes you slowly, like rust-eating metal, but sometimes it also sharpens you. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. I heard Ryan moved in with her. Apparently, love grows stronger in the ashes of destruction. At least that's what people say. But the funny thing about relationships built on betrayal is that trust never really survives. Two liars living under one roof, both knowing exactly what the other is capable of. I don't envy them, not even a little. Sometimes I still remember the nights Ryan sat at my table, drinking my whiskey, laughing, calling me buddy. The memory doesn't hurt anymore. It just feels distant, like watching a movie about someone else's life. Because the man who trusted them doesn't exist anymore. And the man who walked out of that house doesn't make the same mistakes twice. The last thing my ex-wife said to me that night still echoes sometimes. Did you ever love me? I didn't answer then, but I know the truth now. Love requires trust, and trust is the one thing betrayal kills permanently. So I left them both exactly where they belonged, together. And as I drove away from that house for the final time, I realized something strangely peaceful. They hadn't ruined my life. They had simply removed themselves from it. And that was the cleanest ending they deserved.